stepped forward, his gaze locked on Coda. "I am Nox," the wolf said, his voice a low growl. "These lands are mine." Coda stood tall, meeting Nox's gaze. "We are just passing through," he said calmly. "We mean no harm." Nox circled them, his eyes flicking between Tala and Zephyr. "You're far from your territory," he said, "and winter is coming. The valley is mine, and I don't share." The Three Wolves of Autumn Ridge. As autumn settled over the ridge, the forest transformed into a sea of orange, red, and gold. Leaves crunched underfoot, and the crisp breeze carried the scent of pine and earth. Deep in the heart of the forest lived three wolves: Coda, Tala, and Zephyr. They were more than just a pack. They were family, bound by loyalty in the changing of the seasons. Coda, the eldest, had fur the color of burnt amber and eyes like warm embers. He was strong and wise, always leading the pack with calm authority. Tala, his sister, was swift and clever. Her sleek silver coat shimmered under the autumn sun, and her sharp senses made her the best hunter in the forest. Zephyr, the youngest, was full of energy and curiosity. His fur was a deep, stormy gray, and he loved nothing more than racing through the woods, feeling the wind rush through his coat. As the days grew shorter and the nights colder, the wolves knew that the time of plenty was coming to an end. The forest, which had been alive with prey during the summer, was beginning to quiet. The animals were preparing for winter, just as the wolves would soon need to. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows through the trees, Coda gathered his siblings. "The herds are moving south," he said, his voice steady. "We must find new hunting grounds before the first snow falls." Tala nodded, her keen eyes scanning the horizon. "There's a valley beyond the ridge," she said. "I've seen deer there before. It might be worth exploring." Zephyr's ears perked up. "An adventure!" he howled, leaping to his feet. "Let's go." But Coda was cautious. "We must be careful. The valley is far, and we don't know what dangers await." The next morning, the three wolves set out at dawn, their paws leaving soft prints on the fallen leaves. The journey was long, and as they climbed higher into the mountains, the air grew colder. They could feel the change in the season, the promise of winter looming ahead. For days, they traveled, hunting when they could and resting when needed. The forest was still, save for the rustling of the wind in the trees. But despite the quiet, Coda couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched. One evening, as they rested near a stream, Zephyr's ears twitched. "Did you hear that?" he asked, his eyes wide. Coda listened closely, but all he heard was the gentle babble of the water. "It's nothing," he said, though he wasn't sure. But Tala was on edge too. "We're not alone," she whispered. Suddenly, out of the shadows, a figure emerged. It was another wolf, larger than any they had ever seen, with fur as black as night and eyes that gleamed like ice. The stranger stepped forward, his gaze locked on Coda. "I am Nox," the wolf said, his voice a low growl. "These lands are mine." Coda stood tall, meeting Nox's gaze. "We are just passing through," he said calmly. "We mean no harm." Nox circled them, his eyes flicking between Tala and Zephyr. "You're far from your territory," he said, "and winter is coming. The valley is mine, and I don't share." Zephyr bristled, but Tala stepped between them. "We only seek food for the winter," she said. "We'll leave as soon as we've hunted enough." Nox bared his teeth. "If you can survive." Without another word, he vanished into the trees, his presence lingering like a shadow. For days, the three wolves hunted in the valley, always aware of Nox's presence. He would appear at the edge of their vision, watching, waiting. But despite his threats, the wolves thrived. Tala's sharp eyes and quick movements brought down the deer, while Coda and Zephyr worked together to bring the prey to the ground. One evening, as the first snow began to fall, Nox appeared again. This time, his expression was less hostile, though still guarded. "You've proven yourselves," he said, his voice softer. "You may stay, but only until the first full moon of winter." Coda nodded, grateful but wary. "We thank you." As the days passed, the three wolves continued to hunt, their bond growing stronger each day. Nox kept his distance, but they could sense his respect. He was no longer a threat, but a guardian of the valley, just as they were guardians of each other. The wolves knew it was time to leave when the full moon rose high in the winter sky. The valley had given them what they needed, but their home was beyond the ridge, where the familiar trees and trails awaited them. As they left the valley, Nox watched from a distance, his black silhouette standing out against the snowy landscape. Coda paused and howled, a farewell to the wolf who had tested them, challenged them, and finally accepted them. The three wolves returned to their forest, ready for the long winter ahead. The cold winds may have blown through the trees, but they had each other, and that was all they needed to face whatever came next. Together, they would endure, just as they always had. Thanks for watching the stream. If you enjoy this stream, don't forget to check out my channel for more fascinating stories. Please subscribe and like the stream for more fascinating stories. Thanks.